These are this afternoon's top stories. The 45th Annual Caribbean Development Bank Board of Governors meeting has officially begun. Guyana is reeling from what is being described as the country's worst mining disaster, and another man has been arrested for involvement in the Bardo Museum bombing. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday newscast. Today is Wednesday, 20th May 2015. I am JD Keynes. In national developments, governors of the member states of the Caribbean Development Bank gathered today for the ceremonial opening of the 45th Annual Board of Governors meeting. The welcome address was delivered by Acting Governor General His Excellency Tapley Seaton, his first official duty since being appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris also addressed the gathering in his capacity as chairman of the CDB. The CDB Procedures Committee gave a report after a statement by CDB President Dr. Warren Smith. The Caribbean Development Bank is made up of 27 countries. Former Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sir Edmund Lawrence, has recorded appreciation to God, the federal government, his family, and the staff at the Government House for their support during his tenure as the country's Governor General. Sir Edmund, who was appointed to the post in January 2013, further expressed best wishes to the citizens of St. Kitts, Christopher and Nevis. Sir Edmund's comments came in a press release which was disseminated to local media houses. According to the release, Her Majesty the Queen had previously given her consent and approval since 13th March 2015 to Sir Edmund's request to retire effective 31st May 2015, adding that as of 19th May 2015, the palace had informed Sir Edmund that on a formal request from the Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, the retirement date had been brought slightly forward to 14th May 2015. Today, Wednesday, 20th May 2015, is World Metrology Day, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards, SKNBS, is spreading the word about its work and impact on the nation. Leading up to the observance, ZIZ News caught up with Iron Ordain, who is the head metrologist at the SKNBS. Ordain described work of the Metrology Bureau as very important in ensuring consumers are protected and get the services they pay for.
What we do here involves mostly the verification and the calibration of scales in the supermarkets and at the airport as well, and also the verification of fuel pumps.
Metrology is the study of measurements. This year's theme, Measurements in Light, was chosen to align with the UNESCO International Year of Light and Light-Based Technologies 2015. Ordain gave examples of how metrology is applied in St. Kitts and Nevis.
You could see the importance of metrology in commerce, in trade. Persons want to know once they trade goods from one country to the next, that if whatever measurement they use in the transactions are actually accurate, and the same whether you do whether you take the measurements in St. Kitts or you take them in England, they are the same. And also, a very important aspect is health and safety. For example, nowadays there are major operations happening where persons need to extract a certain amount of fluid coming into the body and put a certain amount of fluids back into the body. And these measurements have to be precise. I could mean the difference between life and death.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards was established in March 1999. Regionally, the sweeping fiscal reform and proposals in the 2015-2016 budget have been a mixed bag for St. Lucia's leading economists. However, the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce is optimistic and lauds the government's attempt at restructuring the economy to stimulate growth.
Key industries could go over well for employers. News Force spoke with the Executive Director at the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, Brian Louise.
I think it is very clear that the government is making a big effort to stimulate growth by having a significant spend on capital expenditure, and that will probably boost and hopefully boost construction and also generate some employment. The question is whether I think the methodology of execution of these projects will lend itself to a lot of people being hired, a whole range of contractors being engaged and involved. So therefore you have a wider spread of the benefits.
Some 600 VAT registrants here could stand to benefit from a proposed increased tax threshold, which would make it a non-requirement for small businesses. The Chamber, however, speculates the move could have long-term unintended consequences.
Businesses who are registered for VAT would prefer to deal with other businesses who are registered for VAT and who will provide them with a VAT invoice where they could then claim back and document their VAT payments. Firms would probably start to shy away from those businesses who are charging similar prices but not charging VAT and not issuing a VAT invoice. That really is going to be a decision the firm will have to make to see what kind of businesses they are involved in, who they're interacting with, what their clientele is, what their service providers are into, to see how it will affect them.
Tourism remains the country's leading industry. The Chamber suggests, however, government must focus on strengthening the linkages between the sectors. The outlook, the Chamber contends, could see the St. Lucia economy bounce back after bottoming out as a result of the Great Recession. Rihani Isidore, HTS News Force.
Just as the country was starting to settle down from last week's general and regional elections, Guyanese are reeling following the news of a mining disaster in Region 8. Authorities are blaming heavy rainfall and poor mining practices for the tragedy.
On Monday, a high-level team flew into the Moasi Back Dam in Region 8 to inspect recovery operations. A pit caved in, killing 10 persons in what has been described as one of the worst mines disasters in this country's history. Dr. Rupert Rupnarain, who has been designated responsibility over the natural resources sector under the new government, was one of those at the location.
It's clear that what has happened here has been as a result of a complete failure and breakdown in the system. In other words, there are practices that are actually going on in the mines, which really should not be happening, and they should not be happening, and they would not be happening if the GGMC and the mines officers were permitted to do their work.
President of the Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association, the GGDMA, Patrick Harding, said that apart from improper mining design and poor safety practices, heavy rains in the area also contributed to the accident.
Over the last week, we've been having a lot of rains in the back dam. And what happened in this area, they've had plenty of rain in the last 2 days. And the land is caved in, covered. You may see an excavator in the back dam there, which is covered also. Right at the bottom there.
President of the Women Miners Organization, Simona Broom, said the accident highlights the fact that miners are not properly educated on guidelines they should follow.
Again, is the lack of knowledge and education to miners in terms of how they should work and areas and all of that. And you heard the miner himself saying that he was never educated.
Dr. Rupnarain said that accidents of this nature must be avoided in the future, and he spoke of what can be done.
We need to avoid it, and the only way we will avoid it is by systematic education of the miners into safe mining practices. That has not happened here. If that had happened, we would not be with this tragedy here this afternoon.
The accident occurred on disputed property. The operator, Imran Khan, was granted an injunction against the owner, Edward Hopkinson, and the GGMC from interfering with his operations, and so mines officers were prevented from inspecting the operations. The Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association has urged all miners to work in accordance with the Mining Act and regulations. The association said that it is eagerly awaiting reports from the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, and the Ministry of Labour on the accident.
Internationally, Italian police say they have arrested a 22-year-old Moroccan man in connection with the Bardo Museum attack in Tunis, which has left 20 tourists dead.
Italian police say they've arrested a 22-year-old Moroccan man in connection with the Bardo Museum attack in Tunis, which left 20 tourists dead. It's also been revealed that Abdul Majid Touil had come to the attention of Italian authorities before the March killings. An identification was made in February, he says, when he arrived by migrant boat in Agrigento. He was officially expelled from Italy. We don't have any other information about him. It's reported that Abdul Majid Touil had been sought by authorities in several countries after the attack here at the Bardo Museum. Tunisia has said that it's arrested most of those suspected of involvement. The attack is said to have been launched by a cell of militants with overlapping allegiances to a number of hardline Islamist groups.
Portuguese authorities have launched an official investigation after a video of alleged police brutality surfaced on the internet. The video shows a father being beaten by police in front of his 2 young sons.
Portuguese authorities have launched an official investigation after a video of alleged police brutality went viral. José Magalhães says he'd been allowed to leave the football match early with his father and 2 sons because they were being crushed by the celebrating Benfica fans.
What I said, pointing to the stadium, was that he should be worried about what was happening inside because there were more people struggling. I was trying to explain that the situation had to be solved. And then I think it was those gestures that provoked the rest.
E pronto, penso que foi esse levantar de mãos que provocou o resto.
He says his son had been left particularly traumatized by the incident. They'd only stopped walking for a moment because he'd asked to take a break for some water.
The only thing that Goncalo has been telling me at home is, Dad, if I'd not been thirsty, we would not have had that problem. This is the reason he'd been pointing. He was the guilty one due to the fact that we had to ask for water and leave the stadium. And then that happened.
E aconteceu aquilo.
In an initial hearing, the policeman alleges Magalhães was being abusive and spat at him, a claim Magalhães denies.
Turning now to the weather. Conditions today will be partly sunny and hazy with a 40% chance of showers. Tonight, skies will be mostly clear with haze. Winds are east at 8 to 15 miles per hour. Seas are moderate with heights less than 1.2 meters or 4 feet. The weather brings us to the end of ZIZ's Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for the details to these stories and more. Thanks for joining us. I have been your presenter, JD Gaines. Have a great afternoon.